It's the last first day of school for President Joe Buck.
And are you starting out today? How pretty you look.
He's term limited out of the school board presidency.
My name's Joe, too.
After 8 years of steady progress
You all right?
in a school system that desperately needed a leader
I'm glad you're here today.
and got an unexpected one in 2006.
Parents entrust their dearest thing to us. The thing that is most important in their life is their kids.
Dean Buck has spent his entire life worrying about teaching students.
Are you folks new moms?
But the 35,000 in Savannah Chatham's public school system are especially dear to him.
This is sad. I've loved these 8 years, and I'd really rather not think about it being the last first day of school for us.
Joe Buck was born and raised in tiny Thomaston, Alabama.
My phone number was 8. My grandfather was known as Mr. Big Joe Buck. My dad was known as Mr. Little Joe Buck, and I was known as Mr. Little Joe Buck's boy.
The family farmed, but his mom was a teacher, standing at an American crossroads.
The day the white school integrated, all the white kids walked out and all the teachers walked out, but 2. And my mom was one of those that said, African American kids need to know how to diagram a sentence too.
The lesson became a part of who Joe Buck is.
He taught me a long time ago that integrity is one of those words that stands on its own. You don't have a lot or a little integrity. Either you have it or you don't.
Little Joe Buck's boy went to Auburn.
My mom said I majored in fraternity and minored in yearbook.
And then went into the Navy, which took him to San Francisco, where he ginned up enough Southern charm to sweet-talk a pretty girl.
Met a Yankee from Rhode Island, and she had followed this Navy guy out there, but it wasn't me.
I was smitten by this Southern boy with this accent, this lovely Southern accent. And he was a handsome naval officer, and I was a city girl from New England. They said it wouldn't work, but here we are, 47 years later.
The Navy took him to the waters of Vietnam, but brought him back to attend Florida State for an MA. And then he and Maryland came to Armstrong.
At latter 60s into the 70s.
At Armstrong State College, he became the root of the new South Side campus.
He poured his life into Armstrong. It was who he was.
Armstrong became home for us.
Us expanded to include the Reverend Dr. Joseph Buck IV and Sarah C. Buck, now an assistant principal.
We have a teacher and a preacher we're pretty proud of.
Dr. Joe Buck, hello, my brother. How are you? Good to see you. Joe Buck flew the Armstrong flag everywhere. He became the face of the college at Rotary, at Civitan, at United Way.
Joe was unique in that he fully did that, headed the whole spending process, chaired the board, and then came back and said, I'll do the fundraising side of it too.
Helped really connect Armstrong to the community over those 36 years. Every step of the way, when you thought about Armstrong, most people thought about Joe Buck.
Nowhere were his skills more prominently displayed than at Leadership Savannah, where he developed the unmistakable traits of a leader of the First Order.
You know, he walked the walk. He was active himself. He was at Armstrong. He was all over town. Everybody knew him. Everybody liked him. His charge is to take that group and start coalescing them from 40 or 45 or 50 different individuals into a group.
That skill will come back around as little Joe Buck's boy rises from Director of Student Affairs to Vice President, mentoring thousands of pirates along the way and creating a discipleship of followers who would do anything for
Dean Buck.
At length, 36 years, Armstrong craved something new.
It became apparent to me that it was time for me to go.
Joe went through a very difficult time.
He could not retire. He was not done yet.
It was then that a group of community leaders approached him with an off-the-wall idea.
He came home one day and said, they want me to run for the school board president.
He triggered all the skills that his life at Armstrong had helped him develop and put together a kitchen cabinet that reflected his values and his vision.
We sat down in the living room floor. It was Bill and Malik and myself, and we just had printouts of people we knew and what he should do.
After a long, distinguished career, to then take that experience and put it back into Savannah and recycle all that experience so that many other individuals could participate and benefit from that, and open up opportunities so that individuals can actually make a contribution back to Savannah really stands out for me.
The field was crowded and formidable. The campaign went to a runoff, but the runoff gave President-elect Buck a clear mandate.
Determined. I think confident that I can accomplish what I promised to accomplish as I ran for this office.
You always want, sincerely, your best and brightest people in public office. That's what democracy is all about. And Joe had the perfect ingredients for that.
Getting elected turned out to be the easy part.
There were so many parts broken that we were struggling to find out what and where do we start the work. We were about to enter into the first East Block campaign. I think that spoke very well of Joe's relationship with the community.
The school board had become known as a fractious, often frozen governing body. That all changed.
So you've got 8 others, and there are 8 other agendas.
He is sincere in everything he does. He is always inclusive to everybody he deals with. He is sensitive to every feeling, every issue, every nuance.
Over his 8-year tenure, he guided the board and created a team that served the mission that they developed together.
You know, I always speak about all means all. All is not defined as some. Joe lived that.
Hey, buddy. All right. See you, sir.
Which brings us back to where our story started. The schools, the children. Except it isn't really the same picture at all compared to when Dean Buck first took the president's gavel.
We've made a tremendous difference in the academic progress the district has made. We've made a tremendous difference in the graduation rate. We're extremely proud of that. Dropout rate was 13%. Now it's less than 3%. 6,000 students that we didn't have in 2005 are now back here.
These last 8 years have been just a remarkable experience. I didn't think anything could be any better than Armstrong. And this has been, in its own way, Armstrong was preparing me for this.
And now, the doctors, Buck, have earned the right to do some things for themselves.
You know, Marilyn and I tap dance a lot together. And the kids grew up having fun with life.
Now, do you guys literally tap dance?
Yes, but we're not doing it for this.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Note to Dean Buck, never underestimate the resourcefulness of an editor who graduated from Armstrong, especially one who knows firsthand the immeasurable contributions of Dean Buck to the community.
People like him, and they know he's sincere, and they know that the community is the most important thing to him. He makes a relationship with somebody, it sticks.
But Joe gets up at like 4 in the morning, 4:30, and he claims he goes to the gym. I don't know about that, because he's always talking about, to me, my accountability system, well, what is the return on your investment? And I look at his waistline, and I don't know what his return on his investment is.
That can-do spirit, that's what he leaves us all with. I mean, may we all have the Joe Buck can-do spirit.
There has been no greater teacher for Bill Kelsa than Joe Buck. And every time I interact with him, I learn something new. And for that, I'm forever grateful.
Life is short. I know that, and every day it becomes even more apparent to me. But you only get to come around one time, and you really ought to leave it better than you found it. And you really ought to take the chance to laugh as much as you can and have as much fun with things as you can, and love. I love God, I love my country, I love my family and the folks in Savannah.
I'm looking forward to see what he's going to do next.
Dr. Joseph A. Buck III is a laureate in the Junior Achievement Savannah Business Hall of Fame.